Hey everyone, this is Rose Daly, the City Sustainability Coordinator of Sun Prairie, and you're listening to the Sustainable Sun Prairie podcast, the show that aspires to educate, empower, and engage our listeners in all aspects of sustainability. Whether you are a seasoned sustainability enthusiast or just beginning your sustainability journey, each episode will have something new and exciting for everyone. Let's begin the conversation for a greener community. Hello everyone, welcome to our very first episode of Sustainable Sun Prairie. I am so excited you are here with us today as we kick off this podcast series that is focused on ways we can achieve a greener and brighter future together. So we're going to jump right in here with our very first episode where we are going to discuss the bigger picture of sustainability. What does sustainability mean? We're going to lay a really nice foundation here in this episode that will help us move forward with this podcast. Now, joining me here today is a very special guest who's going to help me unpack the concept of sustainability. Andy Hirvela is a supervisory engineer at Sun Prairie Utilities and is one of the biggest sustainability enthusiasts that I know. Hi, Andy. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well today. Thank you. It's wonderful to be here. We're on the world premiere of this podcast.
World premiere, yes.
Right? Reaching to the masses. So I'm genuinely excited to dig into this topic and get started here.
Thank you. And I'm so glad you're here with us today. Could you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I started with the utility in 2001 as an apprentice lineman. Went through the training program to be a journeyman lineman. Was in that role for about, total apprentice and journeyman for about 12 years or so. Decided to go back to school at night after that. And was able to get into a position of an operations engineer once I graduated. And then like a year after that, was offered the water supervisor position as well to kind of tack on to the engineering part. So now I essentially design what I used to build and then also supervise the water department for the utility. So it's
Awesome.
been fun. But I am as much a resident of Sun Prairie as I am a utility employee. So I've been a resident of Sun Prairie ever since I came here. I lived above the professional building downtown, so it was right across the street from work, above Baldwin Eye Care for a name drop. But it was water and light at the time, and then now, of course, still live in town. Live in the city of Sun Prairie on the east side with my family and that. So very much involved in the community, enjoy the community. But at the core, I'm a lifelong learner. So
yes.
This is perfect. That's why the topic of sustainability means so much, because it means a lot for Sun Prairie. It's very interesting to bring it to here in a focused way, and then, of course, just to be here today in Sustainability 101, I guess. Like I said, I'm as much a student as anything else. So.
Alrighty, so let's jump straight into our content.
Let's do it.
The word sustainable is in the title of this podcast, so that means this word is important enough for us to make an entire, podcast series about it. So I want to first start by just talking about the word sustainability. I recently went on Google Ngram. Have you used that before, Andy?
I have not.
Okay, so Google Ngram,
that.
that will tell you and show you the historical usage of any word or phrase you type into Google Ngram. So the other day, I put the word sustainable and sustainability into Google Ngram.
Oh boy.
And essentially from like 1900s up until the 80s, it was a flat line. No one was talking about sustainability, right? That wasn't really on the forefront for society. But then in 1980, we first start to see a very gradual climb in the word sustainability. And then as we move into the year 2000, 2010, we see that word shooting up. It's in everyone's vocabulary now. And I feel like this is one of the biggest buzzwords of the 21st century.
I'd agree with that.
I think every day I'm hearing the word sustainability. I turn on the news and I'll see news reporters say the U.S. is ramping up their sustainability efforts. I'll see businesses that say, hey, we're going to start implementing sustainable business practices. I have friends who say, hey, I'm going to start doing X, Y, and Z to live more sustainably. So we hear this word around us every single day. And honestly, I feel like the word sustainability is being overused and in some cases abused. And I feel like it has become so diluted that it almost has become meaningless. Do you feel the same way?
I am concerned that sustainability may shift towards the fat-free, the whole wheat, the organic, mindset label where somebody puts it on a package or something and it makes you feel a certain way or make a choice, with a good or a service that happens because you use the word. It's the word. I think we were doing probably sustainable things before the engram ticked up, but it wasn't given that word. But now it is, exactly like you said,
Right.
a buzzword. So people know that it's a buzzword. Companies know that it's a buzzword, and to be sustainable is a good thing. So people want to be into that. But I was concerned that it was just the word was being used in that way. But sustainability, I think, to me, should be a life skill, kind of almost like
For sure.
learning to ride a bike or speak a language or something like that. It's probably its own language,
Mm-hmm.
quite frankly. But it has to be learned. It has to be taught. It has to generate some sort of measurable action. I think I'm an engineer. I like metrics and measure, and to generate outcomes on success. Kind of like, okay, I was taught to ride a bike. Now I can ride a bike. I can ride to this place, or I can converse with someone in that language that I learned. It's showing that you have been successful, and I think we need to do that. But it really should be, sustainability should be woven into our choices that we make for our bodies, or our minds, professional, personal lives, all that stuff. It should be that inherent skill that we have. So we do, of course, still need a definition for it. I think
Mm-hmm.
for ourselves and for the community actually as a whole, because it gives some shape to that word, especially for us. We want to define our shape in Sun Prairie, and so metaphorically can get my arms around it. I can understand it. So
Absolutely, yeah. So let's move into what is the official definition of this, overused buzzword. So according to the United Nations, sustainability is meeting the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs.
Okay, so what do you think about that?
So there are two things I love about this.
Okay.
I love that we're focusing on needs, not wants. We live in a society of consumerism, like I want this, I want that. But no, that has no place in sustainability. We're focusing on what do we actually need to live and survive and be happy on this planet. And then I also like that we focus on future generations.
Sure.
In our consumeristic society, it's me, me, me. How is this going to affect me right now? But sustainability challenges us to think about the future. How will my actions today impact my kids' future, impact the future of the planet? So those are the two things I love about this definition. What about you?
I think it's tough to wrap your brain around thinking about 1,000 years from now or something like that.
That is tough.
We are beings that have a lifespan, of course, so you're definitely into that, but it is a challenge. You have to get out there. So I've been working on my definition for a little bit. It's been changing ever so often. I wanted to keep it simple, almost like a mission statement, so I can remember it easily. When I'm asked, maybe on a podcast like this, what my sustainability definition is. So I have chosen adaptable longevity. So for the planet, for your person, it can be hopefully used lots of places. So, to sustain things by definition is to keep going. You are to providing longevity probably through good stewardship. But I think that adaptability part is key because things are going to change. Things that worked one way may not work the same on the exact same problem because there's been a difference or something. So we always have to be evaluating ourselves as our people, our profession, our companies. So we can refine and improve those things. I always like to say my coin phrase that we innovate and then we celebrate. I think that's important, and then we get back to work. So sustainability to me is that adaptable longevity, but it is a multi-generational initiative. We really do need everybody. I think of it almost like a seesaw. So you have the older generation on one side, and we need their wisdom, and they've seen some stuff, they've been through some things, and that's important to draw from. And we need the younger generation that has the fresh ideas, hopefully a little less cynicism than myself or the older generation, and then they just have that attitude that kind of says, well, let's just do it. Why can't we just do that sort of thing? And then I think, of course, at least my generation and maybe us together are that fulcrum. We're in the middle, and we are the people that hopefully have a little bit of both, of what the older generation has and the newer and the younger. But we are not necessarily controlling it, but we're helping balance that situation out and make sure everyone is heard. So
Definitely.
My big thing, definition, of course, but my main thing is the how. Once we have that definition, how do we get there? And you and I have talked about this before. And I've chosen one word for it, and it's together. We got to do it with, collaboration and unity and that. Of course, it's not always easy. We're probably going to talk about that stuff. But to make it work, a person has to be able to essentially take two ideas, opposing ideas, and hold them in your head at the same time and give them both space to think about. And I think once you get there, once you can do that and kind of let them coexist and validate each other, then we can bring it all to one singular point and find a way forward. But it takes the opinions of everybody, because we're all here, old, young, or otherwise. We're all on the earth together, and all of our opinions should matter towards, especially in our community, what it means for us.
Yeah, that's so true. Yeah, so we really need some collective action, and then we also need to adapt. We can't keep going the way we're going. We need to see some change in our life, and it's positive change for us, for the planet, for the economy.
Yeah.
So I wanted to jump into how I view sustainability. I love hearing your
I'm
definition.
Ready.
So mine, it's not really like choosing a word or a phrase. It's more so like a visualization. So let me try to describe this to you, Andy.
Let's do it.
So here's how I view things. We each live in our own little bubbles, okay? Now, in our consumeristic society, we are told to only focus on ourselves and what's inside our bubble in that moment. So, for example, I need a new pair of shoes. I'm going to choose the pair of shoes that are the most comfortable for me in my price range and look the best and feel the best. I'm going to bring those into my bubble, and is what is going to satisfy me in that moment. So that's the consumeristic society.
Yes.
Now, if we start living sustainably, this bubble kind of pops, and we realize that we are actually one small piece of this big puzzle that we call planet Earth. So now we can start focusing on, okay, I'm not focusing just on my bubble anymore. I'm focusing on what's outside my bubble. So, okay, I need a new pair of shoes. Where are those shoes made? How far do they have to travel to get to me? What materials go into those shoes? And, hey, these shoes aren't going to last forever. 5 or 10 years down the road when I'm done with these shoes, what's going to happen to them? Do they go in the landfill? Can I recycle them? Can I repurpose them? What can I do with these shoes? So I think once we pop our bubbles and we realize that we are just one small piece, we're not on top of the world, above everything, we are one small piece of this big complex puzzle, we can start to think about how our actions impact the world and society and economy, and not just how they impact us. That's kind of how I view sustainability. Alrighty, so I think we've covered kind of my visualization of sustainability, your official definition, which I love, and then we have the United Nations definition.
Yep.
Now, there's actually a lot more to sustainability. There's something called the triple bottom line. So there's 3 pillars that make up sustainability. Those are environment. So that's the obvious one, right? We have the environment.
Yes.
Like when you say the word sustainability,
No points for guessing that one.
Oh,
everybody.
right.
No
People
points.
are like, oh, yeah, sustainability. I'm going to say no to plastic bags. I'm going to clean up trash in the park. I'm going to get solar panels on my house. So, yeah, the environment pillar, super clear to everyone. But there's 2 other pillars to sustainability. And without them, sustainability would crumble to the ground. So those are society and economy. Or, if you want a little phrase for this, people, profit, planet. So the 3 Ps that make up sustainability.
Okay.
And without each of these working in harmony, sustainability won't work, because we can't have an amazing environment without making sure our environmental work actually makes sense economically. If it's going to cost us $1 trillion to fix the environment, that's not going to work. And also, are we ensuring that our society has good well-being during this time as well? Are they healthy? Are they happy during this work to make the environment a better place?
So I did a little homework for my Sustainability 101 class, and I did some Google searching myself, and I found that the triple bottom line was coined by a gentleman named John Elkington. He was later coined as the godfather of sustainability, but he coined that phrase in 1994. But which kind of around it'd be interesting to see your tick on, when he did his thing.
Yeah.
To see if Google had ticked up in there. But he actually, following this a little further, John actually recalled his own phrase, his own initiative in 2018. He did it through a Harvard Business Review article, and he's kind of treated it like a product recall for anything. Like you put something out there and it gets out to the world, it gets out to the masses, and they get a hold of it, and then you reevaluate it again, like we were talking about. And he found out that it wasn't being used quite like he wanted it to be.
Ooh, products is being overused,
right?
right?
He called for like a reclassification, a reclarification, if you will, because he felt like it had become only an accounting tool. So maybe focusing on that economic side only, and that because those are, like we were talking about earlier too, and I like measuring. That's things you can measure, maybe measure easier than the other ones.
For sure.
Not so much that you can't measure the other ones, but it's just easier to say, I spent this or it cost that, and it saved me this type of thing. So I don't think anyone's necessarily to blame, but it became much more of just a financial or economic tool than what he thought it was really meant for.
Yeah, and that's really interesting because I do know that based on the research I did, triple bottom line did originate as a framework for businesses.
Yeah.
Because think about it, businesses love to just focus on profit, right? But if we then give them the triple bottom line, they're then forced to think about the well-being of their customers and their impact on the environment while they're gaining their profit. So I think that's where that came from, and maybe John Elkington didn't like that focus on business and profit, and he wanted to see it expanded further.
Yeah, I think it's nice that he's continually in it. You know, it's one thing to drop
drop
a coined phrase or an initiative. It's another to continue to refine it.
Right, because he could have been like, oh, my work's done. I made the word. It's shooting up now.
Print some T-shirts. We got it.
Yeah.
But, you know, in that same article, he cited, because John had wrote this article for the Business Review, that there was a CEO in Denmark. I forget the name of the company, but they used his words in it, and the CEO had said that, you know, the triple bottom line, if you can basically move forward, provide progress on two of the spheres, two of the circles, two of the elements, and then not change the other one, you're doing pretty good. It's success.
Okay.
Of course, you know, the best development, the greatest development would be to find progress in all three of them.
Right.
But as we were talking about, it's hard. So, but John went on to sum up further from those words from that CEO that it's as a company, that was, like you said, it was related to companies and that, but I think it's related to us, of course, personally as well, that you should be best for the world and not best in the world. So I think that. I liked it too. I thought it was nice. I thought it summed up his product recall. The refocusing that to be best for the world. I thought that was really nice.
So I have a question for you. We've been talking about adaptability and change and kind of evolution with this word sustainability in our actions. Do we think the triple bottom line should be changing at all? Are there more than just those three pillars that make up sustainability?
Okay, so I've also been doing some stuff on that. You know, like I said, I like diving into things. I've been reading some articles. There was one specifically, actually probably two. There are two different ones that I could probably highlight. I won't say the names or anything, but they were. One was talking about. Well, they were both talking about culture, and pulling that out of like the societal element, and that one thought culture, as if you pull it out, should be all-encompassing, should be all the way around all of these things. And then the other, of course, this was good that I found it just through some searching, but that they thought it should be just nested inside of the societal. So if you had, like nesting dolls or something, the environment's on top and you keep stacking down, that culture should be on the inside. So it's a little bit different, because if it was all the way around the whole thing, you're going to be, that's even further than the environment, because it's almost the highest level, if you will. And then the other one is that we should still include it, but it's in here and they work their way back up. So I kind of wanted to get your take on that, because I think culture is a big, expansive topic too.
It is a really big one, yeah. And I think culture can sometimes really help us to move forward with sustainability, but I also feel like culture can sometimes be a barrier to us moving forward.
I think, like I said, culture is kind of expansive. It's kind of quite a large part of our human identity. It is who we are. And when you pull something out from a group, like we were talking about, either if it's around everything or otherwise, you call attention to it, and that's a good thing. That's certainly fine. But it means that there has to be a direct consideration. You have to literally call it out by name. Have we satisfied this part of this?
Yeah.
And so I think the challenging part is. And why culture can be a barrier is that it provides a lens, it provides a perspective, and I think sometimes that there can be choices made because that is the lens that you see things through. And you have to be able to open up maybe past your culture sometimes to be able to see all the options, all the choices.
Definitely.
To like we were talking about, invite these opposing ideas into your brain and let them sit there and stuff for a little bit. We have the fortune to travel, and we've been to some places where around the lunch hour, the shops close, and people go. The shop owners go. They probably have lunch, right, or go do something else, and we were walking down the streets, and it's like, here we are, it's lunchtime, we're going to grab a bite to eat, and then we're going to go shopping, and all the shops were closed. But that's just strange because we don't do it here.
Right,
you know?
not
so
in American culture.
yeah,
We're open
so-
24/7.
Right, I'm guilty of it too. I go to shopping places that late at night. I'm a night person anyway, but sometimes you need that something.
Right.
And but I think there is merit to that, taking a break and stuff, and it works for them. So it's only weird because we haven't seen it or don't operate that way, but it doesn't make it bad, I guess.
Yeah, and I think we can really learn from other cultures, and cultures can learn from us too. We all have parts of our identity that are really good for the environment right now, really good for society and our economy. So can we kind of collectively create this like larger encompassing culture for our world that has this lens of sustainability?
Yeah.
I think that would be awesome. And then within that, we can still have bits and pieces of our own identity and our own culture in America and other countries around the world.
I think so too. I think I don't know if people are nervous about it, that the fact that we would become one culture, one homogeneous, you'd lose everything, and I don't think that's what we're saying. I think it's always important to celebrate where you're from, what your heritage is, whether that's through food or music or art and stuff. It provides that culture, and America just happens to be one of many cultures, you know. And I think that's all important to celebrate. It's
I
important
agree.
thing to consider.
Yeah, we gotta be confident enough to question our culture if there's something that
Yes.
we don't think is the best for that triple bottom line.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome.
Are there more? Are there any? I mean,
Yeah.
is there like we're gonna go? Is there a six? I mean, you know, people probably
Yeah.
took John Elkington's thing and they ran with it.
Yep.
So I'm wondering, you know, if that's 4, that's probably quadruple. Are we at a quintuple? Are we at sextuple or centuple?
Quadruple
Seventuple?
bottom line. I've seen a lot. I've seen 4 and 5 pillars, and there might even be more. So going back to the 3 P's, people, profit, planet, I did see a 4th P called purpose.
Okay, what's that one about?
So purpose is all about what is our motivation behind our actions. Like you need to have a really good purpose. Like with these businesses that now are kind of being forced to abide by the triple bottom line,
Okay.
like you don't want them to feel like they're just doing this because they have to. You want them to feel passionate about
Yeah.
meeting the objectives of the triple bottom line and ensuring that they're being great stewards of the environment and the economy and society. So I think having a really deep purpose behind it can make everyone move forward in their journey of sustainability a lot more smoothly.
Okay.
Yeah, so I've seen that, but let's wait and see what else comes out with the.
Seriously, we'll be at 10 at some point. No,
Yeah, exactly. So I think we've really talked a lot about the word sustainability, its history, where it came from, what makes this word up. But I want to move now into action. You know, now that we understand sustainability, what can we do to kind of help move this initiative forward? Now, something I've noticed is there's this big discussion on, do we as individuals actually have an impact on the environment, a positive one? Or are there so many of us humans on this earth that one person won't make a difference? So what I'm seeing is, a lot of times if there's people who aren't living sustainably and they're asked why, they'll say, oh, well, I won't make a difference. It's on big corporations and big government to make changes. They're the biggest polluters, so they should be the ones taking a lot of action. But then I've also seen the flip side. Are you familiar with carbon footprints?
Yes,
Like,
to some. Yeah.
you have a carbon footprint, I have a carbon footprint. That actually originated from really big gas and oil companies. They wanted to push the responsibility off of themselves, so they told everyone, hey, you actually have a big carbon footprint, figure out what that is, and then find out how you can cut back on that.
Okay.
So they kind of pushed it on us, like, no, we're going to sit back and keep doing our oil and gas production, and you need to be the change. So I've seen both sides of that, and I was wondering, Andy, do you think we as individuals actually make a difference? Or is it on governments, or should it be a collective action?
I think you do have to be the change, but it is a relationship. Businesses need us, and we need businesses. The businesses sometimes have more resources that way, but the little stuff matters because I think even businesses started small. I mean, they all had to start somewhere, type of thing, and they grow, and hopefully their identity, if it was a sustainable one, continues that way, you know. And it's for business, it's providing that vision since the beginning or not. But it is a transactional relationship, I guess.
Yep, I
you know,
agree.
if we buy more of things that are a certain way, that companies will make more of those things, type of deal. So
Very true.
we
The
do
demand there.
we do need each other, but we, I think, have more control as consumers than I think we believe. And it is I know you can feel, you know, like it's just you, but if you do something and then you tell someone else you did something, and on you go, your community, the community turns into the county, and the county turns into the state, and on and
Yeah,
on you
you
go.
got
So
it.
I think social media has accelerated that. Things that were probably pockets of things, of initiatives or otherwise, kind of gain more traction because we are connected in that way, and it can be quicker. So adoption of certain things, I saw it on this, is definitely a deal. But I think individuals are probably the most important part, and I think we do have more control.
Yeah, I agree. And I know you mentioned that, businesses they base what they do, what they produce on us consumers.
Yeah.
If we make the demand, and we're going to talk a little bit about that in
Okay.
a bit, but let's go back just to personal actions. So if all of us had the same mentality of my actions are meaningless, nothing would change. We would still be back at square one, right?
Yes.
So we need to make sure that we actually we see meaning in our action. I see meaning in my action. I'm sure you do too.
I do.
And it is making an impact. It might be a small one, but I think the bigger thing, aside from just what are my actions doing directly to help the planet, is my actions are actually inspiring others, like you said, on social media. So sometimes I'll be out and about and I'll have a sustainable product with me, and people will say, "Hey, what's that?
Sure.
I've never seen that. That's super cool.
This
Can you
is
tell
it.
me what is, and where'd you buy it? Why do you use this?" So I think that our individual actions can really inspire others. It's kind of like the neighborhood effect. If you put up solar panels on your house, your neighbors are going to be like, "Wow, that's cool. I want to go talk to them and learn about what they did and maybe get solar panels for my house." So we are here inspiring others. We're building a community. And like you said, as we keep, inspiring others to take action, we're going to become a community of activists. We're going to become a state of people who are
Yes.
pushing for sustainability, and then a whole country. So I agree that individual actions really help to build momentum in this movement.
I think momentum is a very good word for it.
Yeah, very true. So Andy, what are some things you're doing right now to make that impact on the earth?
Okay, so I got some big and small ones. I do some composting. We one of my children kind of had science, experiments and stuff through elementary school that kind of were dealing with composting and that. So we treated it a little bit like a science experiment back then. So we have continued to do some of that on a little bit smaller scale, trying to do more, of course. We do a lot with the eggshells and stuff. So knowing that those are good for the garden, and because I like gardening a lot. So to save the eggshells, crush them up and kind of work them into the soil and that sort of stuff, to provide our, of course, garden plants and other plants some more nutrients.
Yeah, awesome.
We did, as a family, purchase one EV
Ooh.
for us. Yes.
Which one do you guys have?
We have a Tesla Model Y, shameless plug.
Ooh, okay.
But yes, so it was through research, but it kind of brings us to the point of a little bit what you're talking about, is that we saw someone with one, we
Yep.
said we liked that. And it happened to be family members, so we got to go for a ride, how they're using it, that sort of thing. Kind of not the first adopter. I wanted to see kind of how they live their lifestyle and stuff. But
That's fair.
as a commuter vehicle, it works very well for us. So we have, children with activities. My wife works in Madison. It works perfectly for that. So, but that was kind of a major decision. It is a cost thing. But along with that, one of our biggest challenges, but this was a good change also, is we went on to a time of use rate. So we
okay.
did a rate comparison, not just because I work at the utility, but we did a rate comparison and found out we could save money by going on a different rate that you pay a little bit more for an on-peak, or when people are using the most energy, and then paying less for off-peak. And this one in particular happens to be, our program is 8 to 8, so 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. So
Okay.
it's less expensive there.
Yeah.
So the challenge, of course, with a family of 5 was to get the full potential out of it. You kind of have to change some habits,
Right.
You can load the dishwasher maybe right after dinner, but you put a timer on it for a couple hours later. And I'm not heavy-handed about it. I'm like, oh my God, you guys, you
Yeah, like
you
the
turned on your
timer
ceiling
set,
fan.
yeah.
Don't do it until 8.
Right.
But it is, if you want to get the full potential out of it, you do have to make a couple different habit changes, and that's all they are. They're really just habits. Once you get into there, I mean, the rate comparison was based off of what we were already doing, so that you already saw that if you would just do nothing else except what you were doing, you would save money. But you can always be a little better, right? So maybe you start the laundry at this time or something like that. But that was probably the biggest family challenge, that we had, just because I'm into it, and I think my wife is, of course, but the habit forming, to show that you you can do that is the biggest one. But
Yeah.
I mean, we've done pollinator plants and stuff too. I like I said, like gardening. So we've planted some pollinator plants. I like to read books. So we've done. I like to participate in the little library economy. I call it.
I love
where
that. Yeah. Do you guys have one outside your house?
The east side of Sun Prairie has quite a few. So I
Okay.
I don't quite like to load up just one at a time, or
Yeah.
the one in particular, because then I'm like, who's this guy that keeps putting in stuff. But we walk by them, and I'm happy to see when my books go away, 'cause I'm like, oh, that's somebody else. Somebody else thought that was cool. So I like doing that. So I participate in that. I'll of course add my own and stuff, but take some from there, and I think that's kind of a neat way. I don't know if it quite fits under sustainability or not, but I thought just that whole
I think it
reuse
does.
kind of
yeah.
idea.
Libraries are one of the most sustainable entities we have. We all keep reading the same books. So I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
And I feel like you've shared both big changes, like buying an EV, that's a big change. And that's like an expensive change, right? But then you also talked about really small changes.
Yeah.
And these all have such a positive impact. And I think the best part is you're like educating your kids and getting them on board with this because, again, they're the next generation.
Yeah, how about you? Do you got any? I'm sure you do. just by title and by
Right.
definition.
Otherwise, I'm fired, right?
Yes, seriously.
Yeah. So I'll just share a couple things I'm doing. So during COVID, that's actually when I switched to a completely plant-based diet.
Okay.
It was something that I never thought I would do. But I was like, I'm going to cold turkey, no pun intended.
Ooh, no puns.
Switch to a full plant-based diet. And I felt like I really had the time and space. I also was living with a roommate at the time who was plant-based as well. So she really helped me to ease right into it.
Did she start at the same time, or she was
Oh,
already?
no, she's a
Okay.
long-term vegan,
All right,
so
all
it
right.
was awesome having her there. But yeah, I switched to a plant-based diet, and that's been really awesome. I haven't really had any issues with it. And then something else I do that's kind of smaller is I like to keep a set of utensils with me. So I have this little bag in my backpack, and I have a fork, spoon, and knife
Yeah.
in there. But I've expanded this little utensil set because pretty much the purpose here was when I was a college student, you never go hungry on a college campus. There's free food literally everywhere, right?
Yes.
Like there's
It's mostly
events every
pizza,
day.
but yeah,
It's like pizza, hot dogs, like whatever. But I would always get frustrated because I'd be like, oh yeah, free food. I'm going to go take advantage of that. But then I'd be like, oh, there's like styrofoam plates and there's like plastic utensils. All this is just going to be used for 5 minutes and then go in the garbage. So then I started this little collection of, okay, I'm going to keep, fork, spoon, and knife with me, and then maybe like a little Tupperware I could use as a plate.
Okay.
But then this collection started to grow. So now I have a straw with me, but I don't just have any straw. I have a metal straw that I can use for like a coffee drink. I have a thicker straw I can use for smoothies, and I have a bubble tea straw that I keep with me too.
Really?
So I have like all different kinds of straws, so I'll be ready for any drink I get. I also have chopsticks with me, so if I go out to get sushi, I've got my chopsticks in my bag. And I also have a couple other fun things in there, but pretty much I've just built out this set based on what I like to go out to eat.
Yeah, of course.
And then now I can keep saying no to those plastic utensils or to, disposable straws or to disposable chopsticks. So that's just something small I've done. I like to call it my zero waste survival kit that I keep in my bag.
Yes.
But
I was going
that's
to say
just
zombie apocalypse or
zombie apocalypse,
beverage
yes.
apocalypse, but
I will be ready.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's just something else I do. And then besides that, I like to move toward plastic-free living in my house. So I'm really close to a plastic-free bathroom right now, which is awesome. We can have a whole episode on that, so stay tuned.
Yes.
And then I'm also trying to buy secondhand whenever I can.
Okay.
So, yeah. But, okay, so Andy, you and I both have these awesome practices. There's obviously more we can do, and we've seen that our actions have inspired others. But there's still a lot of people who aren't living sustainable lifestyles right now. And, the question is, if living sustainably was easy, everyone would be doing it. But there's actually a lot of barriers, I think, in our society that almost create these walls for people where they don't want to start living sustainably. So I think we should talk about those.
Okay,
let's be really clear about it. It's
Yes.
not easy to live sustainably.
It's not.
So I think one of the first ones is the fact that, and I actually found this list online, the 5 biggest barriers to living sustainably. So let's talk about those. The first one is breaking old habits. Now, I agree with this. You have to break a lot of old habits to live sustainably. So, for example, if you want to, break up with plastic grocery bags, then when you're at the store, you have to break that habit of picking up the plastic grocery bag. But what I think actually is more important here is I think it's easy to break old habits. It's harder to establish a new habit.
Yes.
Because I can say no to a plastic bag any day, but if I don't have my reusable bag with me, I have no other choice. So the harder habit is to actually make sure you always have a reusable bag with you at all times. Do you kind of agree with that?
I do. I think habit forming is difficult. I thought it was important to put the toilet seat down in our household, with 2 daughters and my wife and stuff. So it was a little literal, purposeful change, that you had to be intentional about it, much like the plastic bags and stuff. You know, you have to be intentional about, all right, I'm making sure I'm taking this with me, a reusable bag of some sort.
Yeah.
I don't think you have to, like we were talking earlier, the small part, I don't think you have to take like an armful of them your first time. You know,
No.
I need 50 of these things. Take a couple.
Yeah.
It just means you're not taking a couple plastic bags.
Yeah, and it makes
I
a
guess.
difference.
You know, and if you like it, then you think it's all right and you can handle it, you go to 3 or something like that. So, habits are habits for a reason, and it takes a little bit of time, and you do have to be intentional about it. But if you have the right goals in mind, if you're like, I am going to do this, and you see why, you see the benefit.
Yeah, you have that 4th P, the purpose
yes,
behind
the
it.
purpose. The purpose.
Yeah. Just like how you guys had to create that new habit of, we are not going to run our appliances or start charging our car till 8 p.m. so we can get those better rates. Yeah, that was probably a big habit you guys had to form. A lot of thought went into that.
You know, it's a lot. It's like we're talking about a life skill. So I know more, of course, because I'm in the utility side of things. But to show the kids, show Kari that's not just dad being dad. You know, that there is some benefit to it, and that it costs less money for the electricity, but it's because we need to use that up, that we want to get rid of that. The energy is being generated all the time.
Yeah.
And so to get rid of it and use it up efficiently, we need people to use it in the off-peak times too. And it made sense for our family. Like I said, we did the rate comparison and stuff. And I would, I don't know if it's a question, but there is probably a point for people that a certain dollar amount isn't enough to switch or something like that. But whether that's $10 a month or $5, whatever that is, but that's based on your current situation. So if you think you can get better, it's only going to get better, like I said, like we said, by changing those habits.
Exactly. That's so true. And I think you just brought up something good about the price point of things. So barrier number 2 is cost, pricing, and accessibility. So I get that not everyone can buy an EV right now. Not everyone can put solar panels on their house. Even if there is a good payback there, it's that initial upfront price tag that kind of turns people away. So what do you think of that?
I think convenience is definitely a thing for everyone, and families especially, and it does make it hard when you go to the store and you're like, oh yes, I'd like to do this, and it costs more, knowing that you're going to use a lot of whatever that is. I think you do have to pick and choose sometimes. You know, like, to have all, especially for a family, is probably difficult. But like you said, with the EV, we made a choice on it, but we analyzed it a lot. We did a lot of thoughtfulness about it. We didn't want to be just part of the fad sort of thing. We did look into, how things are made and that sort of stuff. And I think those are the places that you get behind, because you are supporting things by buying them. So if you really believe in something, like I said, it doesn't have to be all of them, but you're like, I really think this is important and I want to see more of this, I think those are the ones that you push your money towards.
That's so true. Yeah, I think I have a purpose behind it. Don't just do it because everyone else is doing it. But also, sustainability, like we mentioned, forces us to think into the future. So always think about, like, is there a payback period here? I remember I bought this pack of reusable Ziploc bags. They're like made out of really thick silicone.
We have
I
a few
have
of
4
those.
of them.
Yeah.
Love them, right? I just wash and reuse them. I've been using them for 6 years. I did a quick cost analysis. I was like, I'm going to spend $10 on these 4 bags up front, but that means I'm never, ever going to buy Ziploc bags again. So think about the cost savings, especially if you have kids and you're always making lunches for them. Like, there's a lot of cost savings there. So I think about the ROI and establish your purpose behind this.
Yeah.
And you also brought up barrier number 3, because you had mentioned...
I'm not doing this on purpose, by the way, you guys.
Yeah, Andy's just on it today.
I'm caffeinated. It's happening.
So yeah, barrier number 3 is convenience and availability. So I get it. Like I said, I bring my own utensils places. But why do that when there are utensils available? Like at fast food restaurants, at all these events. Like, there's stuff there. Why should I bring my own? Or why should I go to the thrift store to find, a new pair of pants when... I can't guarantee there's going to be pants there that I like. I can just go to Target and there's going to be a really convenient pair of pants available to me that I can just buy instead. So, like, I totally get point number 3. I think this is one of the biggest barriers, is like, convenience is my priority, not living sustainably. You know what I mean?
I do. Probably I shot myself in the foot on the convenience part. I said everything I want to about convenience, but it is true. it's not, like we said, COVID did a nice job of reforming, but our society, our culture is very much a feedback. I got to do this quick 'cause I got other things to do,
right,
type of thing. But that just means that those products, I think, have to get out there more, and so that involves your larger companies to put those products front and center a little bit more. I think it's on maybe us, or as the city and stuff in general, to help show people what these are available, because some of that, I think, is that you just don't know. I mean, if I knew that this was more sustainable and it was $1 more and it was right next to the other one, I mean, humans are, like I said, we want convenience because it's not the most important thing we can do sometimes, and I think that's part of this sustainability momentum, is we have to show that it's important for the future and that sort of thing.
Yeah, I agree. And I like to encourage people to think about the triple bottom line when you're making a purchasing decision. Like, is it convenient to you? Yes. Is it convenient to your wallet? Yes. But is it convenient to the environment? If you say no to that, then maybe rethink what you're buying.
Yeah.
Maybe look for an option that is convenient for the environment. And by that, I mean something that won't end up in the landfill in 2 seconds and will actually help to make a more beautiful planet. Alrighty, so the fourth barrier to living sustainably is the herd mentality. Now, Andy, I
don't think I covered this one yet, so I'm good.
You did briefly mention it.
Nuts.
You've hit the nail on the head, but pretty much the herd mentality is we don't want to be the first person or the last person doing something. We want to be nice and safe in the middle.
Yeah.
So, Andy, you guys waited to buy an EV until you kind of saw people getting into EVs. Then you guys did your research. Then you decided to make that purchase. So herd mentality, that's another huge barrier here, and it's really relatable. You don't want to be the first one to jump into buying solar panels. What if they don't work?
No, but someone should, and
someone has to.
That's kind of part of, I think, where maybe we lie as companies or something like that. We have some of those resources to show. I'd love to do, I know we talked about this, I'd love to do a model home of some sort, a model home project where we can show people, like you just said, come on in, here's this sustainable something. Or we did, the grass, we did this in a sustainable way, or whatever it is, as part of this house and this product and stuff, that people could see that it works. I think apprehension there is certainly fine. It's a change,
Yeah.
And you're exactly right. There does have to be the beginning people, and some people do like that. They want to be on the cutting edge, but they also deal with the hiccups along the way and stuff.
Right.
I mean, even our vehicle, there was a couple small issues in the manufacturing, like the hood wasn't quite right. Like the actual hood coming down, it was shifted. It was like ever so slightly, and they've ironed those parts of their process out.
Okay.
But yeah, then there's the middle, of course. They're like, all right, somebody went first.
Yeah, we're nice and safe in the middle.
Yep. And then there's the last of like, well, everyone else is doing it, but I've never been. Well, of course, in high school and stuff, you are. I think just by the generational and the mindset of stuff that you're going through in high school, it is more of that herd mentality and stuff. But as I've grown older, I've just kind of more done me, I guess, to probably coin a phrase,
sure.
And do things I do because I've looked at them and I've analyzed them and tried to do some pros and cons and make the best choice for us. And it may not be the normal choice, the safe choice. It may be a little weird, but my middle daughter, she came home. She likes to have a snack after school and stuff. And she came home, and we have like salami coins, for our charcuterie boards and stuff. So she went to the baking, cabinets and stuff, and got out cinnamon and sugar, put that in a bowl, and then put that on top of her salami, and ate it for a snack. That was it, right? And so I'm like, what are you doing? She could be on the verge of a culinary revolution.
Oh yeah, next big thing,
right? So she's like, do you want one? I said, sure. So I tried. It wasn't bad. But it's only weird until you try it or whatever.
Very true.
Ketchup and eggs, whatever else, ketchup and anything, that's part of like opening your mind up to stuff, I guess. And it's only maybe labeled weird or not normal or something because you haven't seen it or you haven't experienced it. And then maybe once you do, you're like, actually, I like cinnamon and sugar on my salami coins, and now that's going to be on, Andy's charcuterie board next time or whatever.
Yeah, all the kids will want that in their lunch boxes, right?
Yeah, it was something. It was a very good metaphor. It was literally only like a week ago, so it was right before this
Awesome.
This stuff.
Yeah, I agree. Be open-minded and, again, have that purpose behind things, and then you won't feel like you have to always stay part of the herd. But also, as we move forward, the herd mentality is going to help us go green quickly. We already have all those people who took that first step to buy EVs to get solar, and now that's blowing up everywhere. So I think that's really going to help us in the long run.
You think we're in the middle? Like, we've had the early adoption stuff. I mean, obviously there's technologies that have to still come and all that stuff, but are we in the middle of the sustainability momentum type of thing?
Yeah, you know what? Just yesterday, I was at the Transportation and Innovation Expo at the Alliant Energy Center, and people kept saying we are in the messy middle of electric vehicles and renewable fuels. So I think we're somewhere in the middle here. We've established what's going to work. Now we just have to start adopting it and ironing out those issues we're seeing. Alrighty, let's move into the very last barrier to sustainability. So the last barrier, and this one's kind of interesting, it's feelings of shame or humiliation at being different. Now, this one, I feel like this is the least relatable. I know we had talked about, in high school, you don't necessarily want to be that weird person being different. But in my day and age as an adult, I don't really feel shame or humiliation for living sustainably because I know that's the right thing to do for me and for the environment and for society.
I think just like we were talking about, my generation and maybe older and stuff don't have that feeling as much and stuff. I do think it's in the younger generation. So this is where the seesaw part, comes back into play. We have to help balance that out for the younger generation and with them to know that, it's okay to make these choices. And I think to tell people about them. So if instead of, they may get whatever, say a scenario, they get called, oh my gosh, you have this, that's so weird. And it's like, well, actually, it does this, or it saves the environment, or it costs less, or I like it because it, keeps my drinks cold, or I want to have a bubble tea straw. You guys don't have a bubble tea straw? And like you said, you're almost switching the narrative to be that the other side of the herd. I guess you're creating your own herd, like you said.
Oh yeah.
And before you know it, everybody's got a bubble tea straw.
In their back pocket.
That's
yeah,
it.
I love that for sure. Yeah, have a reason behind what you're doing, and then be willing to share that with others and inspire them.
Yeah.
All right, Andy, so we've talked a lot about what we can do as individuals, but earlier we had briefly mentioned that, businesses and corporations still play a big role in this.
They sure do.
And we influence what they do. So the second thing that we can do to live more sustainably is to vote with our dollars. So in this day and age, the US dollar is one of the most powerful tools that we have to live more sustainably. Now, what I mean here is that every day when we're going out to buy something, we get to make a decision of who we want to support with our money.
Yes,
who do we
like
want
we
to
were just
give our
talking
money
about.
to? Yeah, what businesses do align with our values, and then we can choose to support those businesses that are being good stewards of the environment or are reducing their pollution. And if we keep giving money to those other corporations who are just, doing their same old thing, not really caring about the triple bottom line, then they're going to say, yeah, I'm still getting money from these consumers. I don't need to change anything about my business. Right. So voting with our dollars is such a big thing we can do right now.
It's part of that that individuality you were talking about, or that you're not anything you do that way to support, and then you tell your friends about it, and it's a movement, like you said, it's momentum.
Yeah, we want these companies to feel pressure, like, oh no, I'm losing a ton of business. It's because, everyone's flocking to this other company has like climate pledges. I need to be more like them, and then we will see change that way in that bigger corporation.
The corporate herd mentality, I guess. Right?
Ooh, there we go. All right. So Andy, are there any, brands or businesses that you are currently supporting because they are climate friendly?
So we have used a place called the Grove Collaborative. It's a website.
Yep.
You've probably heard of it.
I've heard of them. Yeah, I've tried them out.
Yeah. So they do something I think that we were looking for as a family, where you don't know. Do you have the time to put in all the work and effort to make sure these things are exactly what you're looking for? So they have a process where they do vet the products for you and so that's just a whole list of products that they've looked at, and they're like, yep, this aligns with sustainable practices.
Awesome.
They have plastic and carbon neutral, and then the Grove Collaborative actually has like an ingredient standard and stuff as well.
Ooh,
so
okay. That's
you can
really
go on there
important.
and feel good that you have actually put your dollars towards the exact thing, and it's not just the word like we were talking about. So we're trying, like I said, all this is just options and choice and stuff. We're trying laundry sheets. They kind of look like a dryer sheet. They're a little thicker.
Yeah.
And so we're trying them now. They soap up, they clean stuff.
Awesome.
But we are trying those as an initiative, and we'll see. Just like you said, it's evaluating the cost and how many loads we get out of this stuff, and is it doing what we need to do. But local business wise, like I said, I had the pleasure of living downtown, in the very beginning of my residency here and stuff. But the downtown has come a long way, and it's very, very
has.
vibrant. We enjoy going down there now, especially. It is our choice, and it's kind of nice we've gotten to that point where on a Thursday evening when the kids are in activities and stuff, that my wife and I can just go down and do a little shopping and have some
so
dinner and
nice.
stuff, a little date night.
Yeah.
But it's because we have local businesses that are really great, support the community backwards as well, of course, and
Yeah, for
and the
sure.
farmers market is something that, talk about momentum. I think that one is gaining quite a bit of momentum. It seems to always be getting more popular. All right, I got to hear him. What do you do? Like I said, you're living the lifestyle anyway. So what kind of brands in that or websites or other things have you?
Yeah,
kind of been into?
I'll mention one brand here. So I like to use Blue Land cleaning products. They're essentially completely plastic-free cleaning products. So the idea is, instead of going out and buying, let's say, a new bottle of, let's say, Windex to clean your mirrors,
Okay.
so you're buying the plastic bottle and the formula inside. With Blue Land, you just are buying a tablet, so concentrated, Windex formula
Sure.
that you can then add to your own bottle that you keep reusing, fill it with water, and then boom, you have your Windex or your cleaning product. So I've really committed to Blue Land so I can help achieve that plastic-free bathroom
Yeah.
I was talking about and plastic-free cleaning products. So I've been supporting them. And then something else just in general is I'm trying to buy fair trade chocolate products. So
You're
I
speaking my language already.
yeah,
I like chocolate.
yes, chocolate's so good, but I also I love baking with it, right? So
Okay.
I'm trying to buy the fair trade cocoa powder, fair trade chocolate chips, baker's chocolate, and then if I want my own chocolate just to eat, then I'll buy fair trade as well. And the reason for that is I used to live in Costa Rica, and they're a really big exporter of chocolate. They treat all of their workers fairly there, but there's other countries that don't do the same thing. So when I really got to see and experience what does the chocolate industry look like in Costa Rica versus other places, it really like I was able to define a purpose of I need to support these chocolate farmers that are being fair and equitable to their employees. So that's why I buy fair trade now.
Okay, so do you think that fair trade, just briefly, is a buzzword too, or is there a better stewardship, I guess, around fair trade? Because you do see a lot of that, and like, oh, fair trade, I know what that is.
Yeah, there is an official certification for fair trade where they do a really rigorous review process of these farms or whatever else is trying to earn that certification. So I think it is a buzzword, but I do think there's a lot more clarity around
Sure.
it. So you're not getting tricked into buying a fair trade product that's actually not fair trade. Yeah. All right, Andy, so we've talked about what you and I are doing. So just briefly, I want to hear a little bit about what Sun Prairie Utilities is doing. Could you name one thing that your utility company is doing to help move sustainability forward?
Sure, we've come to the Sun Prairie Utilities part of the program.
Yes.
Yeah, sure. One thing I guess we're doing is we have a street lighting initiative. So ever since probably 2018, I think, coincidentally, when I started up front, we've been having an initiative where we go around to every road project that happens in the city, and we part of that is replacing, as they replace the roads and curbs and stuff, to also go in and replace the lighting fixtures in there before they were high pressure sodium, and change them to an LED fixture. And that was going pretty well. We had a systematic approach to it and stuff, but recently we received some grant funding with the city's help and stuff, to accelerate that process. So we are next year going to be more aggressively replacing those LED fixtures.
Awesome.
Or I should say old fixtures to LEDs. And I think that's great. I think that's a good use of federal funding in that way and stuff to kind of juice up your stuff you were doing already.
Yeah, I agree. And yeah, I think streetlights are on majority of the time, so let's make those as energy efficient as possible. I'll just say two quick things the city of Sun Prairie is doing is we did install 67 kilowatts of solar on our city hall.
Yes, you did.
So, so you were right there with us in that process. So we're able to generate renewable energy for City Hall. And we also, just about 2 months ago, installed a level 2 charger at City Hall.
Yeah,
so
helped
now,
with that one too.
yes, Andy's been playing a big part in this.
Yes.
But yeah, it's open to the public right now and it's free. So if you want to head over to City Hall and charge your car, you are 100% welcome to do that. So yeah, it's not just us here taking action, it's also our cities and our entities that are working toward this, as well as the county and the state and the country as a whole. So just to kind of wrap things up, Andy, do you have any tips for someone, just tips in general for someone who might want to start living more sustainably? There's so many resources out there. What's a good starting place for them?
Yeah, I think there was a comedian, and his name was Pete Holmes, and he had a stand-up routine and stuff about this, but it was he coined it, so I didn't want to coin it myself. He said, zoom out. Like, you know, as a person, just zoom out. And I think that's a big first step, is to open yourself up to what it's like outside your bubble, right? Burst your bubble. Intentionally burst your bubble, to get outside of that and to ask questions, and that because, you know, once you do that, you're gonna realize, I think, what it really means to live here, however far that here got zoomed out to. You know, just to ask that question: what does it mean to live here? What does it mean to live here in my house, in my city, in my state, whatever? But
I love that.
Like we've been talking, you know, starting small is still starting. So it doesn't have to be a huge splashy thing. This sustainability journey, you know, is something you and I, we'll probably never see the end of. You know,
No.
if we're thinking thousands of years, of course, into the future.
Yeah.
So we can just focus on the steps that we're taking. You know, sometimes you'll peek up at the horizon, you know, and make sure I'm going the right way, or I've got to change because there's something, you know, obstacle in the way, and you're adapting like we were talking about. You can't always see the end, but I think that making those small changes, those one reusable bag, maybe the bandolier of you know, survival kit stuff, it could be just as simple as, you just take a straw to places that you like sipping beverages at.
For sure.
Those things aren't meaningless. They are providing a purpose. If anything, they're pushing you forward, and then, like you said, the herd, we push each other forward, and before you know it, everybody's moving in the same direction.
Absolutely, yeah. You're always making a difference. I would say my biggest tip is please inform yourself. You know, watch documentaries, listen to podcasts, read books, read the newspaper, research brands, companies, and corporations. Talk to family and friends who are living more sustainably. Just inform yourself. You can then define your purpose, and then you can start living more sustainably.
I mean, even the city's website has some good stuff.
We do, yeah.
So on there the other day, I watched a lawn video that was linked there from the EPA and stuff about watering and the right way to water and I thought that was pretty fascinating.
That's awesome. And then I think the last thing is, you know, you can start today. You don't have to wait. You can start today. You can say no to that plastic bag, or you can, you know, bring your reusable straw, or, you know, start looking into getting EVs, whatever it might be.
Put your old book in the little library, you know?
Yes, there we go. Yeah. All right. So that kind of wraps up our conversation for today. Andy, thank you so much for all your time.
This was fun.
This was so fun. I loved having you as our very first guest ever on this
podcast.
We did it. We made it successful. So I just want to tell everyone, be on the lookout for future episodes. In December, we are going to have an episode focused on how you can have a sustainable holiday celebration. So kind of, you know, breaking down that traditional cultural approach and focusing on new ways we can reduce waste and energy around the holidays. And then in 2024, we're going to cover a ton of niche topics related to sustainability. So composting, rainwater management, solar energy, bird-safe buildings, things like that. So
all the things we're going to get into it. I'm looking forward to listening to them as well. So I'm excited.
Yeah, so stay tuned. And thank you everyone so much for listening today. All right, bye-bye. Thank you for listening to Sustainable Sun Prairie with your host, Rose Daly. I hope you enjoyed this episode and uncovered something new about sustainability. As always, you can subscribe to our podcast and listen anytime on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, and you can listen live on 103.5 FM The Sun, WLSP-LP, and on demand on the Sun Prairie Media Center app. For links and resources mentioned in this episode, as well as our contact info, please visit the show notes. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.